And this week, Alicia's going to tell us about a security guard who shoots and kills a burglary suspect who crashed his car into a West L.A. dispensary. What do you got for us, Alicia?
All right. Well, just as stated, the article comes from usacarry.com. And here we have a dispensary up in L.A. As we know, dispensaries within the parameters of the law are legal in California now. And they actually have a requirement in the law. They are required by law to provide a uniformed security guard. Mm-hmm. So at this dispensary, we did have a guard. Guard happened to be armed. As I read the statutes and the parameters within the law, the armed portion is not a requirement. The security guard is required to be uniformed. This particular one was armed. So what we had one, potentially two people in a vehicle who decided that it was their desire to rob a dispensary. So their tool of choice to break in and to enter this dispensary to do their nefarious things was to use their vehicle to drive it through.
Now, so, a dispensary, it's just a fancy, it's
a pot store.
It's a pot store, right?
It's a pot shop.
That's all that is, right? It's where they sell pot. And they just call it a dispensary, and they all wear white coats, so it's official. Is that the deal?
Pretty much. Yeah. And this particular one's called Cookies. So,
it's always very medical.
Right. So this gentleman, this young gentleman, the article states that he is 16 years old. He drove his vehicle into the dispensary. And as we know, a vehicle is a tool. And a vehicle is a tool that can be used for transportation. It is a tool that can be used to provide aid by way of getting people transported to hospitals or to work, right, your livelihood. It also is a tool that can be used to take a life or to escape to save a life. In this particular case, the action of driving it into the dispensary, where there were customers and public at large within the facility there, put people's lives at risk.
A 16-year-old.
And it turned out he was 16.
That's tragic in and of itself.
It is. That right there is tragic, and it actually gets much more so as the story goes on. Okay. And so what happened is...
And what I mean by that is that he decided to get into a car and try, put people's lives at risk and, smash. It's just, it just kills me that, these stories, young people, it just keeps getting worse and younger and more violent.
Right. And this, by the way, it happened at 3:12 in the morning. So this was middle of the night.
Yeah. Why wasn't he in bed? Why wasn't he doing his homework?
Right. So, whether the vehicle was his or not, whether it was a family vehicle, whether it was stolen, I'm not sure. The article doesn't give anything to that. So, but he drove this vehicle in response to the vehicle entering the store where there were people in whose lives were at risk. This armed guard took some shots. And he did shoot at this 16-year-old kid. And as a result of that, this kid was he was alive, and he was arrested, and he was taken to a hospital where he later did die. So now, as far as this goes, armed guards in the state of California are required to have a BSIS. Essentially, if they are going to be just simply a guard, they get what's called a guard card. If they are going to be an armed guard, it's a guard with a firearm. So that is a separate level of certification within BSIS with the state. And the use of force and the justification for use of force is not any different. So the fact that he's an armed guard, he doesn't have any powers to arrest. The ability that he has to pull and use that firearm is not any different than you or I would.
Yeah.
So the justification and the use of force and the things that they're responsible for are going to be the same as the average citizen. So as of today's date, or the date of the article, which the article was written just yesterday, and the incident occurred just a few days ago, there's no charges that have been pressed against this security guard. Whether there could be charges in the future, we don't know. They're still in the investigation phase. They're looking at video and talking to witnesses and things. Now, if he shot immediately as this car was still, was just coming through, and it was just in that immediate moment, that would be a little bit different than if the car had entered, the kid hopped out. There's no mention of any weapons other than the vehicle.
Yeah.
So
his weapon was the vehicle.
His weapon, and the vehicle can absolutely be a weapon.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So all around, it's a sad case. It's sad that the kid felt the need to do this. Sad that the kid had the heart to do this, and that he followed through with it. The armed guard, he was armed. He did what he felt that he needed to do in that moment. A life was taken, which is unfortunate, but it was a step that was taken in response to the 16-year-old's actions, which he chose to do.
Well, and this is a no charges filed. This is a self-defense case.
Yeah.
It's in L.A. And I wonder if a year or two ago, under their old DA,
Right.
if there would have been charges filed,
Right.
Because he was pretty extreme. I don't know much about their new DA, but at least they have someone that replaced the old one. The other thing that strikes me that just it's horrible and tragic. I don't know what went wrong with this kid's life. No idea what his background was, no idea where he came from or why he decided this was a good idea. But what bothers me is this, the anti-gunners, this is another statistic of a child dying because of gun violence.
Right.
And that's when you hear statistics, that's why it's important to pull it apart and really, really, truly understand what exactly is going on. When they talk about how it's the number one, guns are the number one killer of kids, what about a 16-year-old who violently drove his car, turning his car into a weapon? What about that? Is that what we're talking about? What about, the fact that the statistics go all the way up to the age 19 where, if you're 18 and 19, you're not a kid anymore.
Yeah.
They distort purposely these statistics and they basically shout these false statistics while they're standing on the graves of tragedy in order to push their political agenda, and it just absolutely just is so disgusting to me.
Yep. And there is mention in the article of a potential co-pilot, a passenger that evacuated, but that's been not confirmed. There's conflicting stories on that.
Interesting. All right. What else? Anything else?
That's it. I think the really big takeaway is just the reminder that a vehicle can be a deadly force tool.
Yeah, and I think it's nice not nice, none of this is nice, but it's helpful for the security guard that the driver was also wearing a ski mask, because that helps kind of build that split-second
intent.
decision, right? Because this could have just been a tragic car accident where a car goes out of control and runs into a building. We see that happen all the time. But there's that extra context there of that, ski mask that really helped the security guard solidify, like, no, this is violent intent. This is, lethal force. This is potentially something that could be dangerous to me and everybody else in the store.
Yeah, and I mean, not just for legal reasons, but this poor guy's got to live with this the rest of his life.
100%.
And it's that's a tragedy that doesn't get talked about enough. I mean, he had to do what he had to do. But regardless,
if you're gonna carry a gun, whether it's as a security guard or as an armed civilian, when we think about putting a gun on, we have to think about the fact that there is potential that we would have to shoot, a person who's a grandparent, a person who's a child, a person who's a woman, a pregnant woman. Like, there's all these potentials that exist out there, and we need to be sure that we are okay with protecting our own life, and that we have a plan for if we get in a shooting. What's our mental health plan? Do we have a therapist picked out that's good at dealing with these types of things? Like, all of the things you can do ahead of time to prepare yourself for that potential tragic situation can only help you with the PTSD or with, the aftermath. But it's really unfortunate when we see, shootings involving kids, because I'm sure that is so much harder mentally for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. I'm Michael from Gun Owners Radio. If you liked what you saw, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and make a comment. Help us out. Go to gunownersradio.com. Thanks for watching.